Why are only certain priests delegated to be exorcists? Why can't just any priest do an exorcism?
Strictly speaking, any priest could, if he's delegated. But experience has shown the following, Bernard. The typical exorcist is not a very poetic-minded character. He's not flowery. He's not a first-class humanist. He's usually a very stolid character with what we call good moral judgment. You know the type? Sometimes they're boring, by the way, very boring, because they're straight and clear-minded, and for them the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and they don't indulge in wild superstitions or wild romanticism or, as I say, in poetry. Number one. Number two, they have to be of proven moral character. And that's one of the reasons why young priests can't be, because when you're young, you haven't proved yourself. I think that by the age of 45 or 50, if you have careful superiors, careful bishops, careful parish priests, they know you. They know you're predictable. You're predictable. Number two. Number three, they must have good theology, because without good theology, you can be deceived. You can undertake an exorcism of a person, man or woman, boy or girl, and the answers you get, if you're not able to judge them, they can deceive you. That the exorcism is done, that there's no devil there, there's no possession there, you can be deceived. So they're the first three qualifications. And not everybody fits into that. In fact, if you take a roster of priests nowadays that I meet, the young priests coming out of the seminaries, there's one man. He's going to be ordained next June. With time, he might develop into it. But we don't breed this type of animal any longer. Then you see, there's also this about that many priests, and I know them, have refused. Why? Bernard, there's an unconscious and invisible toll on the human spirit once you do exorcisms. What is it like? Well, let me give you the example, say, of a father and a mother. You must know hundreds of fathers and mothers. I certainly do. And when I talk to them, and they have loved their children and reared their children, now they're grandmothers, they're very near becoming grandfathers and grandmothers. You find them continually saying, "Oh no, I gave that son, I gave him all I got, I gave him everything." And they'll tell you what they did in order to bring him to where he succeeded, or his daughter or her daughter, their mother and father talking about them. They're always saying, implying that in order to love them properly as their father or their mother, they had to give of themselves. And they're not talking about money. They also gave money. They're talking about time. They gave time, or their embrace, their kiss, their encouragement. They mean all those things too. What they really mean is they've given something of themselves. And I remember one father said to me about a son at West Point at the graduation, and the boy was feckless. He was so happy over his graduation that he couldn't come back and tell his father about certain ceremonies that father wanted to hear about, because the father himself had graduated 50 years before that, and he wanted to hear his son tell about the secret celebrations that the cadets have that the officers have when they're graduated. And he said to me, sort of almost with tears in his eyes, he said, I'll never know what happened. He said, Malachi, he will never tell me. And he said, I gave him, I can't take back what I gave him, because I gave him part of me. And it's true. And a mother will know that she has invested so much love in that child that she could never do it again. And if you really love a woman as a man, or if a woman loves a man as her husband, once they give that love, you can't do the same. It's only done once, really once. And then you haven't got to give. You give a part of yourself. There's this peculiar transmission of the soul in its fruitful capacity. Now, an exorcist has to do that. Every time you do an exorcism or assist at an exorcism, you diminish your what will I call it? It's like as if it's something like that. If you worked so hard with your arm that you strained it beyond, it will never get back to its original pristine condition of being a good strong arm or a good strong foot. Some vitality, some spiritual vitality goes away. And exorcists I know, when they chat, they normally sort of speak about it as that it's a part of them God has taken away and have to wait till they die. And the old exorcists I know are men who are very denuded of self and very calm. There's great composure, because peace is always the result of good exorcism. Peace, great peace, deep peace. When a person is exorcised and they come out of it, and they're cured. But there's a look on their face that you'd pay gold to see, because it even communicates itself to you. It's a majestic composure. They've suddenly woken up to the fact that they're children of God, they're clean. And I think this is because normally your angel accompanies you and has that sort of an atmosphere around him and communicates it unconsciously to you. And they have it back. And they no longer have this shadow, as one man describes to me, always at the side of your eyes. You can never see it except on the side of your eyes, but you know it's there. And it possesses you, it holds you. You do what it says. Whether it's masturbation or stealing or killing or lying or what. It's always there. It has to do this, and you do it automatically. It's slavery. Now, so that's why it's limited. Thirdly, then, there's the fact that, so that people won't do it. I know priests who said, no, I won't, Your Grace. You can fire and complain to Rome, defrock me, but I'm not going to do an exorcism. I remember one man just wouldn't. And the bishop said, why? He said, because I can't do it. He said, I'll fall. I love lots of things I read in these books. He's a very honest man. He's still a priest and a good priest, but he knew his own weakness. I've known intellectual priests who said, no, I can't do that because I'd be trapped. I'll make a mistake. It's a different type of man. It's a very solid, it's the type you find engineers are. Good, solid engineers, you know, they look at the thing, they measure the planks, they can measure out their eyes, and they deal with hardcore figures, and there's no airy-fairy castles in their mind. They're very concrete minds. So it's that type of mind. Now, doubtless anybody can. I knew one exorcist who was a young man, and he was forced into the position because of his bishop and the subject, the exorcist, as they say, but he was too fine, and he died. Well, it broke him. It broke him in two. He just couldn't take the horror, because you must be able to stand a terrible stench. I'm not saying physically, that too, but in the nostrils of your soul, if there's such a thing. That's the way of putting it. The disgust. You're dealing with something which is disgusting to your nature, and people should realize that when something is disgusting like that to your nature, it means Christ within you is disgusted. It's Christ if you have him with you. Just as if you are revolted by cruelty and sad at human iniquity, that is Christ expressing his sadness and his disgust at it. So if you have that. But for some people, it doesn't give them the strength to control that, and that you have pity on them. And the bishop doesn't force them. If the bishop believes, that's the difficulty. So that's why they limit it. And then the last principle the church has is never let a whole crowd of fellows go around exorcising, because there could be chaos. You know, there was a time in Europe when everybody was considered to be a witch who wasn't a nun, or something like that, or didn't give good contributions to the local cathedral. So you had crowds of friars and Dominican friars and Franciscan friars going around exorcising people ad lib. And of course there's an abuse. And they always condemned a lot of wrong people. Wrongly, they condemned people.
During exorcisms, is holy water used, or is it composed purely of prayers?
We don't understand. God hasn't given us the means of knowing. But you see, God's presence in the world comes in various ways. His chief presence is that he maintains it in existence. His power runs right through everything, through the angels. The steward angels, as they call them, 6 choirs of the 9 angels, of the 9 choirs, have nothing to do but to maintain that world in equilibrium. The world of matter, the world of mind, the world of movement, the world of oceans and lands, and the whole thing. That's one presence he has. Another presence that God has in this life amongst men is the sacramental presence. His body and blood and soul and divinity are present in that tabernacle. Now, a third presence is through sacramentals. What are those? Those are things which the church has had from the very beginning. A crucifix, especially blessed and hanging on the wall, a rosary beads, a chaplet, the Simon Stock, the scapular, holy water, holy bread, whatever is, God gets a special blessing from God, and therefore becomes a special part of the incarnation of divinity in this stuff and matter of our world. Holy water is like that. The power of sacramentals is traditionally known to be limited by your faith. It's like the story of the old woman, who had this awful hill to climb up and to go down before she got to the church. She used to want to go to Mass every day.